everyone, welcome to yet another Coffee Chats August edition. Sangeeta and I are excited to bring this yet another edition to you all to share a little bit of the updates from our month of August, share some exciting news from a recent trip that we did that many of you are probably familiar with already, and also reflect a bit more about what's in store for Bean Voyage and for us as individuals as well. So, Sangeeta, thanks for joining me this afternoon/evening.
Yeah, super excited. I think this is one of the last in-person chats we are gonna have. So excited to dig in already.
For sure, I think we'll have a lot of virtual ones for sure going back, and we'll probably share a bit more of that in a second. But this is definitely the last one we're gonna have for the year in person, I think, for sure. So. I want to start by talking about some of the updates that you wrote about today. I think you mentioned a little bit about the care training, which obviously got started this week and last week as well. So August was a big month for us because it's every year that kind of time of the year when we launch this big program. Tell us a bit more about care training, but also specifically about what happened in August for us with care training.
Yeah, for sure. So if you have been following us for a while, you'd know that care training is our signature program where we provide training and technical support to smallholder women coffee producers so that they are able to kind of implement and learn and network with different stakeholders in the coffee industry, right? So we've been doing it since 2017, I'll say officially, and this year it's been like a really great learning opportunity so far to be able to learn from our iteration that we'd had last year to kind of expand the work that we do in care training. So last year, as you remember, we ran our very first WhatsApp-powered care training that allowed us to work with a lot bigger group at a time. And through our pilot and also our iteration during COVID, like in the initial stage of COVID, we learned a lot to be able to then launch the next phase of WhatsApp-powered care training. So that just got launched last week, and 250 coffee producers joined us for this new cohort, and they will be delving into two big modules: gender and community, and climate change and adaptation. We're super grateful to work with 5 stellar care facilitators that we are so honored to be working with, and they've already reported back to us the lessons that we've learned already from the first week of the workshop that we did with our producers, and also very much grateful to all of our partners and sponsors who've made this possible, so that they've informed our curriculum and also informed so many different parts of care training. And I think the program is planned to be running until November. So after that, we're going to have a graduation, as we always have, and along the journey, looking forward to sharing a lot more from what we learned. Yeah,
it's incredible to be able to see the growth of this specific program from a time when you and I would take buses to go to different parts of this country, and every Saturday, and we would have a gathering of 17, 18 people, and we'd have that kind of small scale work, which I think was kind of the base for all of this, and now seeing it grow and grow in the hands of some incredibly talented and I think highly skilled people, facilitators who come from the communities themselves, and seeing them actually take the leadership of it all. It's fascinating. I think really proud of the fact that was one group at a time, and then now it's 15 groups at a time.
Yeah,
so that's
I know.
kind of exciting to see.
And none of this would be possible, honestly, without the work that Fernanda especially has been putting in as a project lead, and the support that Adri has been providing Fernanda to be able to execute this in a capacity that she is right now. So we're really grateful. I think the program definitely has grown out of what we both are capable as two individuals to be where it is. So super grateful and excited to share on their behalf, for sure.
Oh, yeah. Awesome. Changing direction in programs, I think the second element that you talk about this month, which also launched in August, which is a busy month for our team, and so grateful for everything that everyone does, because it's a lot of things that we're doing at the same time. But talk a bit more about the care support program and this new partnership that we launched with a really interesting partner.
Yeah, so care support program. So like by now, I think you're kind of familiar with all of our 4 programs. But the 4 pillars that we have is care training, care market, care engagement, and care support. And then the care training and care market have been our signature programs for most of our lifetime, like all of Bin Voyage as an organization, right? Of Bin Voyage. And care support and care engagement kind of came about more recently, almost as an ad hoc to provide support as needed. And I think it also kind of was for us to imagine how could we actually imagine like in a longer term of like build an enabling environment for smallholder women coffee producers so that one day if Bean Voice doesn't exist, how can they actually become the agents of like their own visions and dreams, right? So care engagement has been primarily working in the advocacy work with closely working with ICAFE in gender policy and so forth. And care support has been more, I think, more recently on the elements of like the food security and providing necessities in different farming communities. And last year we launched a very small scale. In this, I think right now, like from our current perspective, it's a very small scale. But back then, I think it was like one of the big projects that we were managing. A small scale Canasta Básica program that provided baskets of basic goods and necessities to 26 families at a time for about 3 months. And Abby definitely led the whole process of launching it. And this year, we are really proud and excited to scale the program, especially thanks to the leadership that Abby and Maho have been showing to launch a program that's not only aiming to provide the immediate support to smallholder women coffee producers and their families, but also to provide them with seed capital and training to secure the food security in the longer term. And more recently, our team has been speaking a lot about the hungry farmer paradox, where those people that are actually growing our food are found to be one of the most hungry population globally. And that's a really odd paradox that we are looking at, right? And I think over the past few months, we've been researching into like, what are the root cause of this food insecurity and seasonal food insecurity, especially that our producers are facing. And I've been learning a lot of different elements and really grateful to Abby for proposing this idea of seed funding that would allow producers to implement projects that will actually ensure a longer term food security on their farm. So the training involves not only contents around nutritious diet, but then it also involves training on how do you actually manage a home garden to ensure that you have fruits or vegetables all year around. How do you actually maintain a hen coop? How do you do beekeeping, for instance, and different elements that many of our producers can implement on their farm to garner a little bit more food sovereignty in that sense. So we're really grateful for this partnership that we got through ICAFE and Starbucks to actually work with over 100 families, farming families, and over 500 individuals through these family units.
Yeah, so like, going now, kind of changing direction from what's happening right now, from the present to maybe the future. In the newsletter, you talk about the different questions that we were asked by our board members, our friends before we went on this epic trip. For any of you who's followed us, I think you've seen some of the videos and photos from the trip, but I guess we haven't had the time to really sit down and reflect. So I'm glad we have this opportunity. The biggest question that I guess I have from that trip generally is, what was your major highlight from the visits, both to Guatemala and Mexico? And what was something that you learned that you think could help us navigate Bean Voyage for the next couple of years?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. So we came back, we went on this trip in beginning of August, or actually end of July. It's already been like a month, where we approached this trip to envision what would be possible for Bean Voyage beyond where it is, right? And I think as founders, we've been constantly pushed and motivated to think about, what is capable, like what's possible, what's out there, what kind of impact can Bean Voyage's care trade model have. And I think one other question that we have been asked a lot by our board and our friends and family, and especially like potential funders, has been around the unbundling of care trade models and how effective would it be should it be like, standalone program? If care training, for instance, if it were to be a standalone program, will it actually deliver as much impact as it is right now within the care trade, like the under the umbrella of care trade that we have in Costa Rica, in Costa Rica? So I think that's one big question that we kind of went on this trip with. Can care trade be a standalone program? Can care market be a standalone program, especially because those two are our oldest and signature programs, right? And I think we came back with some sort of like a lot of insight, honestly. Like I think we were very grateful to have connected with so many different stakeholders, from coffee roasters all the way to producers organization and producers themselves, who have like generously really shared their insights and experiences with us, which we are like very, very, very grateful for all the trust that they had in us to be able to share all of their experiences and knowledge and insights. And that also definitely informed us to then see where can Bin Voyage's model thrive, where will it actually deliver the impact that it's meant to deliver, rather than having to impose this over existing infrastructure and not necessarily like fitting right in that, right? And I think that was something that we were very conscious about, of we're not gonna copy paste. I think that's something that we are as an organization and also as two individuals very against, of like, we know that each community has very different contexts, and we want to be mindful of that. And we also want to understand and see where their visions lie and how we could accompany them along, how can our model support them to envision or achieve their vision in that way. So I think there were like some of the criteria that we were constantly like asking ourselves every night, just coming back and like debriefing and thinking about it and saying, well, are we asking them to then bend their dreams to fit our model? Like that shouldn't be the case, right? So that was, I think, a lot of back and forth conversation. And one thing that I think, obviously, it's quite premature for us to share any plan at this point. But I think one thing that we're really excited to say is that we have found a partner that we connected very well in terms of our visions, that we thought that it almost too perfectly fitting to one another's vision to be able to support each other's growth. And we're really proud to say that we'll be in Veracruz, Mexico, working with Colectivo Roconin for the next few months to really dream big and see what's possible for Bin Voyage in Mexico. So I'm not sure if I'm really answering your question, but then I think there is a blog that's coming out also for you to read a little bit more into like what went into our mind every day. And also to kind of keep you posted, we will be posting more updates, I think, more regularly on this front, especially I think beginning next year. You're going to be hearing a little bit more about what we plan to do with this project. But
For sure. Yeah, I think it's an exciting time. We're going to be learning a lot. It's kind of going back to like the beginning in some ways, because we're unlearning so much of what we knew. And so I think we hope that you'll be joining us in that journey and sharing with us advice and tips and research that this community is so good at doing. We hope you will continue doing that, and we will continue to share with you transparently and clearly what we're trying to plan and what we're trying to do, and we hope you can be involved.
Yeah.
So yeah, as we wrap up the conversation, I wanted to talk a bit more about balancing. Now, so this is, I don't know what time it is, but it's around 5:36 p.m. right now, I think.
5:50.
Yeah, it's almost 6 p.m. You and I both have had a long day. I think both started our first meeting, I think like 10 o'clock in the morning, maybe even earlier. And it's been a day filled with just meetings and planning and projects and all of these different things, right? It can feel exhausting. And there's the balanced question that I think you and I have talked a lot about when it comes to work and life and what that even means. There's another balanced question that I think you write about this week, which is quite powerful. It's about geographic balance. I think very few people, although I think more and more people now are noticing it because everyone's working virtual, the nomad work culture is growing. So I think more and more people are on the same page, but I think you and I have been on this boat for the last 5 years.
Right.
So how are you kind of, especially coming up for the next few months, there's a lot of growth for Bin Voyage, but there's also a lot of personal development for us to take care of ourselves and stay connected to our roots and our family and our friends and our loved ones while also being connected to the work. how are you thinking about creating that balance, and what are your general thoughts on how you can balance such two different worlds, Asia versus Latin America? And
Right. That's a really good and big question. So I'll try my best to answer it. And I don't think I probably will be able to answer it to a level where I am also satisfied with one answer, because I think it's been a learning journey for both of us, and I know that because we spend so much time talking about it and trying to find the right balance. And maybe there is no right balance, but maybe it's not going to be 50-50, but maybe there is going to be a point where we both would feel individually like happy at, in terms of where we are. So I think that's what we're kind of like going for in terms of balancing. And it's a really difficult question to answer for me, especially because I consider myself very, very lucky to have found my passion in the work that we do at Bin Voyage. I think at a very early age, especially right after out of college, I already knew this is what I wanted to do. And I think I can speak on your behalf too, because I think that's what got us through all of the hard years where we were like not making a single dollar as a salary, right? And I think at this point, 5 years into the journey, I consider myself very, very lucky to be doing what I'm doing. And then I also consider myself very lucky to have found someone that I really want to spend the rest of my life with, and having a really loving family. They're all based in Asia. And I think this certainty in what I want in my life has, for me, have come with this uncertainty in geographical locations, because unfortunately, because I'm very sure about where I want to work and where I want to live, they're just like not coinciding. So my work right now is in Latin America, as you all know, and my loved ones are living in Asian continent, right? And I think that's just been like a very difficult geographical division, especially and then it became especially more apparent during COVID because of the border restrictions and travel restrictions, and that have definitely imposed a lot more challenges on my emotional stability and my ability to thrive even at the workplace. So that's definitely been on my mind for a very long time. And unfortunately, we are working in an industry where people who are not from these countries, because of our educational background and then the language and all the other elements, are able to bring a lot more resources to the organization than we would hope for, right? And I think ideally, like we both have talked about how ideally the job shouldn't be necessarily done by us. It should be actually done by the excellent and really strong and smart local team. However, until this point, we've found that the resources and the network that we are able to bring as founders have been quite crucial in maintaining the sustainability of an organization. And that's where we see ourselves working in for the next few years and so forth. And it's also obviously our passion. And so I think finding that like balance within the structure that we are living in has meant that a lot of nights where I'm just like, like this time difference, right? Where I will be talking to my partner or my family like very early in the morning or very late at night, and just not having the right balance. And also thinking about how do I imagine myself sustaining my life within this, right? Like we're in the age of like when people are already, I don't think there is like a specific range of age that everyone needs to get married or have family or whatsoever, but then naturally, because the society has set it up for us, and we are seeing a lot more of our friends getting married and starting their families, and also started to ask ourselves the question of like, what do we see for ourselves? Like, where do we think we're gonna start our family? Where do we see ourselves having a house, or
the basic things, the regular stuff.
And I think that's just been a question that I could never answer to anyone. If anyone asked me like, oh, where do you see yourself in X years, I'll be like, well, it all depends on like, but then I think that's just frankly not a sustainable way of kind of like maintaining and dreaming and continuously going about with one's life. So I think right now we're kind of entering this like experimental phase in our life where we are thanks to our strong and smart and supportive team, are able to make the decision to go and spend some time, some more close, and physical time with our loved ones. And we will be actually working from remote, like from abroad. And it's actually quite funny because we say abroad, but then like nothing necessarily will change in terms of our work infrastructure because everyone works from home at Bin Voyage, right? And the only thing I guess we'll have to like factor in now will be like time difference. But because of COVID and also even before then, we've always just worked online and remotely. So I think that's something that we've mastered. Maybe that's not the part where we are going to be experimenting as much, but then I can see us learning on this journey of like individually experimenting and seeing how do we see ourselves balancing the two different, like personal and professional growth and personal and professional ambitions, right? And how do we see ourselves like balancing that? And I think that's something that we are really happy to be really open about and transparent about. And that's also the reason why we're spending so much time talking about it, because I think although Bin Voyage isn't all about us, and I think we as a small team every one of us is an integral part that informs the future of Bin Voyage. And I think it's something that we wanted to openly share of this is what we are thinking about. And so you might see a lot more pictures from me or Abby from not Costa Rica in the next few weeks, months, but we are also looking forward to being back during the harvest season and reconnecting with the team and then being there in person, because I think there's also obviously value in staying connected physically with the team. But yeah, I think a lot of like jumbled thoughts here and there, but I think what I'm sure is that it's a scary thing for me personally. I don't know how you feel.
It's always, change is always scary, and I think we're introducing some form of change in our life without necessarily shaking the foundation of the organization, which can be quite tricky. So it's fear, but also stressful. I think at the end of the day, I'm so glad that this is not just one person. I think the fact that this is a journey that we both have lived and are living makes it a bit easier to handle. If it was just one person, I think I would never have made it this far. So grateful for the fact that we've had this journey, and I think also grateful for what's to come. And I feel like we'll have like best practices session on how to balance like these kind of things, and happy to share that with you all.
And I think as scary as it is, I think we both are very also excited to be spending some quality time with our loved ones and seeing how that could also affect our productivity and how that could also positively influence the work that we do. And perhaps, we're living in the 21st century where connection and internet and so many things are taken for granted, and that's maybe something that we're gonna like utilize even more of like finding ways to actually balance. And I do agree, maybe we could do like a best practice sessions if you're interested.
For sure, we can offer that as a tutorial for sure. Cool. Well, I think it's been an interesting month. I think so exciting things happening, old programs launching again, new programs launching, new potential, so many different type of things happening at the same time. So I hope we take care of ourselves and our team as well. And I think it's been a pleasure to kind of hear your reflections, especially on the balance part. I think something that is always in the top of our heads, I know. For everyone that's following along, thanks for watching, always being part of our journey. We hope you enjoyed reading the newsletter as well. That's wonderfully penned by Singhi. And we look forward to staying in close touch with new programs and other exciting opportunities, and hope you can be involved with us in different very ways. So thanks, Singhi, for joining us. Anything final words you want to share?
No, we are excited for you to be, and grateful to you for following our journey, and look forward to sharing a lot more in the coming weeks. So thank you so much, and stay connected.
Stay well.
Bye.
Bye.